Si yo no te escribo, tú no me escribes. Ey. Si tú quieres te busco, yo sé dónde tú vives.
Okay, you guys, we made it to Atlanta and we are already situated. We're currently waiting for our flight to board so that we're able to be on the last flight headed to Puerto Rico. And I know a lot of you guys would have never imagined that I would be bringing my family to Puerto Rico, but it's something that I decided to do. And the reason I decided to fully is because, well, my mom and myself are fully undocumented and we do not have any type of legal status in the United States. I have personally been to Puerto Rico 3 times. I've used my passport 2 times, and I've used my California driver's license, which is the AB60 driver's license offered to undocumented individuals in the state of California, and I have not had any issues. And I just recently used that, like I said, in July of last year, 2022. And the first time that I ever traveled to Puerto Rico, I didn't have any issues. My sister, who is also fully undocumented, used her Mexican passport, and I did too. And so we didn't have any issues, and I know what it's like. I know the risks that we're running, and let me just go over one of the biggest risks that we actually are going to face. And for everybody who's undocumented, I know there's a huge misconception about whether can undocumented individuals who are fully undocumented travel to Puerto Rico. And this doesn't apply to DACA recipients, because DACA recipients, you guys are able to travel. However, you guys still run the same risk, and so that's why it's a lot more riskier. But here are 2 of the risks that you run when traveling to Puerto Rico. And that's when you're fully undocumented. And yes, you are able to travel to Puerto Rico. And I know that a lot of people say, oh, well, you can't because you're undocumented, or there's immigration. Well, I'm just about to clarify that. So basically, when you're traveling to Puerto Rico, one of the biggest and like the top #1 risk that you run is an emergency landing in a different country. And as you're flying to Puerto Rico, when you're flying from the East Coast, you actually run the risk of either having an emergency landing in Haiti, in Cuba, in Dominican Republic, in Bahamas, or in Turks and Caicos. And those are some countries that you're flying through as you're making your way to Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is the only U.S. territory in the United States that does not have U.S. immigration custom check before you go through TSA or after going through TSA. And that's the reason why I have been able to go and come back. And the first time that I ever decided to go, it was actually because I did my research and I found out that a lot of people who are undocumented have gone, and then I was also looking for videos of what it's like going through TSA. So those types of things like really helped me. But yeah, I figured out that it was not much of a risk, besides acknowledging the risks that I mentioned before. And the second risk that everyone runs, which is like something that's more likely to happen rather than an emergency landing, is basically when you're coming back from Puerto Rico, you can either be asked by documents by an immigration officer, and sometimes they're before you go through TSA, or sometimes after you go through TSA, or even sometimes like before you board your flight. And that's what I've heard from a lot of people, and I'm not gonna say that they're lying. I know that it's true. I know that it can happen, and I am very well conscious of that risk. Entonces nosotros sabemos what risk we're running. And like I mentioned, me and my mom are the only 2 people who are fully undocumented, and my sister and my brother and my other sister, my little sisters, and my grandma, she has a visa, and my other siblings are U.S. citizens. So I know that nothing will happen to them, but like I said, it's less likely for something to happen as we're traveling with my family, and we're like a mixed status family. So those are, well, that's the #2 biggest risk of traveling as an undocumented individual to Puerto Rico. But I know that there's always a huge misconception about whether can undocumented individuals travel to Puerto Rico, and the answer is yes. However, always acknowledging the risk that you run when traveling as an undocumented individual on your way there. And like I mentioned, emergency landing equals self-deportation automatically. You will not be let back into the country regardless if it was not your fault, because you acknowledged the risk of traveling there. I personally haven't heard of someone that I know personally that has happened, and I really hope that I am not the first or my family is the first. Así que pray for my family as we make our way to Puerto Rico, and as we come back, same thing, we run the same risk always. So I hope that my family enjoys ourselves, and like I told you guys, here's the tea of basically how I ended up spending like $1,200 more than what I originally was gonna spend coming here. So I actually fully paid for this trip for my family. I know that a lot of people in my family are very ambitiosos, and the reason I say this is because they have been wanting to come to Puerto Rico, but they've been scared to do so, and it's something that like eats people up, is the fear of traveling as an undocumented individual, and the probability of traveling within the states is less likely for something to happen than traveling to Puerto Rico. And obviously I mentioned the risk already, but when you're traveling in the states, it's actually a lot more easier to travel, and it's a lot less riskier because emergency landing, it's gonna be a US state rather than flying through different countries. In Hawaii, I get a lot of questions as to whether can undocumented people travel to Hawaii. I have been to Hawaii 3 times, and yes, it is possible, and it's less riskier, way less riskier than Puerto Rico, because as you're making your way to Hawaii, it's just ocean. So like the only risk you really run in emergency landing is landing in the middle of the ocean. That's pretty much it. But in reference to like landing in a different country as you're making your way to Hawaii, there's actually no other country, no territories, nothing as you're making your way down to Hawaii. And Hawaii is actually not a US territory, it's actually a US state, and therefore that's why it's a lot less riskier for you to travel there. But yeah, I think it's very important to mention. But now you guys know, for those of you guys who have been asking that question, can you travel to Hawaii and how risky is it? I just mentioned what the risks are, and yeah, that's pretty much. And cruises are a big no-no for everyone who's undocumented. Cruises are like an absolute no, because if you guys take cruises, that's I know it sounds stupid, but basically it's like considered international travel as you're going through international waters. So that's why it's like a big no. And plus, once maybe you'll be let with the passport on, but once you're gonna enter back into the US, you're not gonna be let on or let in, because again, you don't have a status. And yeah, basically you have to have like you have to be a US citizen, or you have to be a resident, you have to have a visa to be able to come back into the United States. And you do have to clear immigration when you're on a cruise. So that's something very important for those of you guys that have been wondering, well, what about cruises? Cruises are an absolute no-no. And maybe you're asking yourself, okay, well, you're crossing international waters as you're making your way to Hawaii. It's different because you're on a plane, and when you're on a plane, the way I see it is like basically, so if you're on a cruise, there could be chances that, like, you know, maybe son corruptos, and maybe they like stop in the middle of the ocean and pick up immigrants, and then they continue their way to the states. And that's why they always clear immigration, or people always have to clear immigration when traveling in international waters. But yeah, cruises are a big no-no if you're undocumented, and I've never had the idea of going on a cruise as an undocumented individual. I know that there is one, but it's in Hawaii, and it's like the inner islands. But other than that, I can't give you much information because I just personally don't recommend cruises. But it is something that is definitely like you shouldn't do. Anyway, so yeah, like I was mentioning, so basically I blew $1,200 just to bring my sister, because she wasn't gonna come with us, but I ended up buying her ticket because I realized that she was gonna stay alone, and my sister and my dad didn't come. My oldest sister and my dad didn't come, and they have a job, so it's like very difficult for them to join us. But I mean, like, they didn't want to come either way. My sister's already been here. My dad's also undocumented, and he doesn't have a status, and so he does have like more more like issues with like in terms of immigration because of multiple entries. That's why he didn't really risk it. But me and my mom, we don't really have like much history with immigration, so that's why I just like I felt more comfortable for my dad not to come and for me and my mom to come, just because I feel like it's a lot less riskier for us. In the event that something does happen, we do have a plan B, and I'm not gonna share my plan B, but I do have a plan B. And the event that we have an emergency landing, or in the event that we are asked for documents, like I mentioned, what was I saying? Okay, yeah, so my sister, right? So basically I had to bring her because she was gonna stay there and nobody was gonna be able to take her to school, so she was basically gonna spend a lot of time at home. And so I just felt really bad because I really wanted her to come, and the purpose of this trip was to enjoy herself as a family. So I ended up bringing her. I bought her like a last minute flight, and there she is. The backstory is basically like, well, not a backstory, but like the story of how she's coming, but she's taking a separate flight by herself. She's only 15, so luckily, to be an unaccompanied minor, you have to be 15 in order to be able to travel by yourself and not get charged a $150 fee. And so luckily I didn't have to pay that either, but her flight in total was $859. And when I first purchased our tickets, it was actually $149 each way, from San Francisco with the layover here in Atlanta, and then directly into San Juan, Puerto Rico. And then on the way back, we have a layover in O'Hare International Airport.
I have a completely full flight today. We'll leave at 1 empty seat on this aircraft. So I'm looking for volunteers, checking you back to your final destination. It is free of charge. If you would like to volunteer, please check in with me at this time. It also qualifies you for early boarding.
I'm definitely gonna go check in my bag right now.
If not, I will have to check in bags during my boarding process.
Okay. Alright, you guys. And so yeah, it was $859. And so on the way back, we have a layover in O'Hare International Airport, and then from there we're headed back into San Francisco directly. But yeah, her flight was really expensive, but overall I'm just super happy that my sister got approved for the Delta credit card, and so I was also able to go into the Delta Sky Lounges, and it's like such a cool experience, and it like makes me feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but like it makes me happy that I'm able to achieve something that I've always looked forward to, considering I've always traveled a lot. So like being able to go into the lounges is huge for me. Like that, it's like I feel so Gucci even though I'm broke, okay? But yeah, basically I ended up buying her ticket with my sister's credit card, and so obviously I'm gonna pay that back, but she just got approved, so hopefully we can use some of the credit that my sister gets to pay it back as well. And my sister was very happy that my sister, this one, was able to come, and so yeah, she's here. We're headed there, but she has to take a separate flight, so we're actually gonna board this flight, right? And our flight leaves at 8 a.m. and right now it's currently 7:25, and so our flight is supposed to leave at 8, and then my other sister, her flight leaves at 10, so she's leaving 2 hours later, but it's okay. It gives us enough time to pick up our car rental and then drop off her things, and then pick her up at the airport. And I know she's very smart, so like I know that should be fine, but she can always call me and text me, whatever, anything. She has my phone number, and we'll be there already, hopefully. So primeramente Dios, todo va a salir bien. And yeah, that's pretty much like the whole story of how I decided to come to Puerto Rico and the risk that we're taking and things like that. So like it's just a lot, but I'm super grateful to be able to share that with you guys, and I really hope that you guys continue to follow me on my journey. And like I told you guys, I will be sharing a lot of information on my YouTube channel for all you guys who are undocumented. And like something that's huge is, I don't know how many messages I get of people who always share comments, of people who always share like, oh, I've never met someone who's undocumented that's like between our age, and you'd be surprised how many undocumented individuals there are in the United States that are living in the same situation as me and you guys. And I think that it's very important to share information that can be very, very helpful and relevant for all of us that live with fear of our status, or sometimes we're ashamed, because I grew up ashamed of my status, and I learned to embrace that shit, because a status doesn't define anybody. And if it's something that I learned, is like we limit our own selves, and then todavía the immigrant community, like we still inflict fear in ourselves or within our community and our people. And that's just so upsetting, because we have so many opportunities, but we don't realize it because we've always known something other than what it really is. And that's why it's very important to educate yourself. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for sharing and being very transparent about being an immigrant and being undocumented, because it shows a lot and it helps a lot of people. The tremendous amount of people that I've received messages about traveling, even just like traveling, it makes my heart happy, because I once in my life thought that I was not going to be able to travel because of my undocumented status. And look at me thriving, living my best life, and being able to share this with you guys. It makes me happy, it really does. So thank you guys for all the support, and thank you guys for all of you who have been following me since the beginning. But I leave you guys with this, and yeah, I hope that you guys continue to watch my videos. Like I told you guys, I'm going to be sharing a lot of information that is going to be very relevant to all you guys, so definitely stay tuned for all that. And don't forget to subscribe and like my page. And then also, if you guys don't follow me on TikTok, my TikTok handle is Gabriel Vasquez 478, and I'm gonna spell it out for you guys, okay? It's GABRIEL VAZQUEZ 478, and then it's Gabriel Vasquez 478. That's my TikTok, and you guys are able to scroll through my videos and you guys will find a lot of information. I share a lot about my life, I share a lot about being undocumented. You guys will see my passport a lot, because I am a Mexican citizen and I travel with my Mexican passport. And I do have the California driver's license, which is the AB60, and it's not a real ID. For those of you guys who are probably asking yourself, is it a real ID? It's not. I'm not eligible for a real ID. I don't have a social security number. So yeah, you guys can go and look at my videos and learn a little bit about me. But yeah, okay, you guys, we're gonna start boarding, so I will update you guys once I get to Puerto Rico. And I know this video was a little long, but
we should be able to board as soon as possible.
give me 1 second.
I need your help with the boarding process, guys. I have a completely full flight, so please.
It's a full flight.
Only
It
board
really
when your
is a
cabin
full
is
flight.
called.
I couldn't
If
find
you're
a
unaware
ticket
of
for
your
my
cabin,
sister
take a
on this
look at the
flight.
boarding card. Under your seat assignment, you can locate your cabin. As well,
Okay,
a
you guys,
monitor above will let you know
I
what
leave you guys
cabin
with
is boarding at the
that.
moment.
Don't forget to like and
If
share
you're
the video.
traveling in groups of
And thank you
family,
guys so
everyone
much
kindly please have
for
your own
following my
boarding card in
journey.
hand.
And I can't
As
wait to
well,
share more content
when
with
you
you
enter
guys.
the aircraft,
Adios.
please board in your